Welcome back to the channel, folks. It has been a while. I had a nice vacation at the Oregon coast where I saw this seagull versus crab experience, which the seagull won. But folks, in short, we've got some acros in the tank now, so stay tuned. Let's check them out. So before we jump into the new Acropora I've added, let's go through a few updates. So while on vacation, my temperature and my pH readings from my apex suddenly flatlined. This occurred shortly after a pretty massive storm, from what I understand, and I posted a poll, and I asked all of you, what could be going on? What's wrong with my head unit, or what's wrong with my apex? In short, most of you ended up being wrong. I tried resetting the apex. I did several power cycles, I did a hard reset on the apex, and I even tried new probes. So in short, my unit is done for the most part. I'll probably send it into Neptune and see if they can repair it, and then perhaps I'll just sell it. Now here's a little bit of advice. Back up your apex configuration. It can be simply done by logging into Apex Local, downloading the bin file, right? So I did this, and once the new Apex arrived, it took me like 5 minutes to load my config file, and I was back up and running. I didn't have to recode or reprogram anything. So having your configuration file saved is very nice in situations where you lose your head unit, which is pretty rare. More commonly, you may have to do like a factory reset, which you'd need to back up and load your config file anyway, unless you want to do it all manually again. So I'd recommend doing that. It just takes just a few minutes and it will make your life a lot easier. Now the new Apex head unit I ordered straight from Neptune. I installed it shortly after returning home from vacation. Like I mentioned, it was super simple. It just kind of unplugged the old one, plug in the new one, and now I have my pH readings and my temp readings again, which is crucial because for me, I was controlling my fans. I was cooling the tank based on the temperature readings of the Apex. Now after I got everything installed, I did recalibrate my pH probe with the new head unit, and this is typically something I do every few months anyways. I actually have a brief video describing that process of how to calibrate or recalibrate your pH probe, and I'll include that in the description below if you want to check it out. So another update. I've been working for hours, and I think we all do this, on optimizing flow. It just takes time, unfortunately. And I'm having to balance sandstorms. I got this crazy fine sand. LPS corals from being blasted, right? I don't want them to be blasted. And I want enough flow to keep my SPS happy. So in short, I couldn't just be successful with 2 MP40s. I had picked up a couple cheap directional pumps from Jabo. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I've used these kinds of pumps before, and I still need to mount the controllers. But this solution seems to be working pretty good at the moment to getting the right flow that I wanted. Now one more item or update. Many of you asked me in comments, etc., what these filter feeding cups are on my tank. And in short, this little cup is from Kraken Reef. Kraken Reef is where I purchased my lid for this tank. I've got a short video on this lid that I will link to in the description below. And Kraken Reef, they build lids for all tanks. Red Sea, Waterbox, JBJ, Fluval, etc. And with their lids, they sell various accessories, including these little filter feeding cups. And this cup allows me to drop in food, pellets, frozen, whatever, and through the slits on the side and the honeycomb bottom, the food will actually drop down into the water column without it being pushed down the overflow. So you don't get all the food rotting down your sump. And this comes in especially handy, this kind of feature or accessory, if you're running an auto feeder, which I do, but mostly on vacation. But if you're interested in Kraken Reef products like lids and these accessories, they have all colors, they're pretty cool. I'm actually a member of their influencer program, and you can get 10% off at checkout using the following code, ZBurnsReefing. So use that at checkout and get 10% off if you're interested. Now let's get into the Acropora frags I picked up. I purchased frags from 2 vendors, Battle Corals and Reef Bum. Both Adam and Keith, they're reefers I've looked up to for a long time. I mean, I used to follow them heavily back when Reef Central was kind of a happening place to be. The frags from Battle Corals arrived super healthy. I love his packaging. He actually lists out the name of the coral on the packaging, on the bag, whether the coral likes high, medium, or low light, as well as high, medium, or low flow. And he also categorizes the coral growth rate and difficulty on the packaging. So just awesome. Now, when I get frags in the mail, I immediately want to get them temperature acclimated, dipped, and added to the tank as quickly as possible. Shipping can be just super stressful for acros, especially in the summer when it's hot. The water can go foul really, really quickly. And so that's kind of what I did. That's my process. And seeing all these bags again in my sump as I look at this just feels like Christmas. Now, the frags, that arrived from Reef Bum were also very healthy, super, super chunky. And I really like Keith's way of packaging corals. It was a little unique. He has these little plastic cups with a hole cut in the bottom of the cup and sticks the frag plug, into the cup hole. And this creates a shield of sorts for the frag so it's not rubbing up against the side of the bag. So super cool and incredible attention to detail from Keith. Now, after I get acros like this, I typically will just throw them on the frag rack for a few days. The first 72 hours seems to be the most crucial after they arrive, so there's no need to really handle the corals and bug them further and try to glue them on the rocks until you get through those first few days. So in short, let those corals adapt. Now, I did lose a few corals to RTN after their arrival. I lost 3 to be exact. They RTN within 24 hours. I tried snipping off the dead tissue and saving the corals, but I had no luck. So, an honorary mention, I lost the ATL Blue Clover Stag, an SWK Invalida, and a PC Rainbow, which is just a classic. I love that coral. But that's okay. Let's go through the corals that made the trip and are still hanging in there. And you'll notice I'm a little old school with my choices. I only have 1 or 2 designer pieces that I picked out. So up first is a Jason Fox Flame Acropora. Awesome coral. I love this. I love the yellow tips on this coral that really pop. After that, next up I picked up Greg Carroll's Ultimate Efflow. I've never had an Efflow before. I love the growth patterns of Efflow, so we'll see how this one does. Next up is an ORA Hotkins. Just a classic. Love the blue coloration on this coral as it grows out. Next up, I picked up a Crimson Bliss. This will look similar to a Red Planet as it grows out. A little bit more pink though. Next up is a Walt Disney, which is probably one of the more expensive frags I purchased. Designer piece of sorts. So we'll see how that one does. Next up is one of my favorites, the Garf Bonsai, which has nice deep purple color with green polyps. Next up is Greg Carroll's Acroberry. This one will be interesting to see how it colors up. It needs to start growing first before we see that. Next up is one of my favorite corals, an ORA Pearl Berry. This coral will just glow as it takes some more presence in the tank. Next up is a Confused Rainbow Monty. So though it's not an acro, it was one of those extras that were thrown in to my order. Next up is a Sniper's Blue Acropora. I've had this coral before. It has great blue coloration as it grows out. Next up is a classic favorite, the Red Planet. And next is a Pink Lemonade. This next cap here is a Starburst Monty. It came in a little beat up, actually, but it's already healing quite nicely. And that's a big frag. Next up is a Sunrise Monty. And next up is a Bali Green Slimer. I love the growth pattern on a green Slimer. Great backdrop coral. Now the last piece here is an old school frag, a Paletti Yellow Tip. Now, not all these frags did I actually order. So the great thing about Adam at Battle Corals is he always throws in a few surprises. So fantastic order, fantastic lineup I have here, and I'm really excited to see how they grow up. And I hope they grow up well, right? That's the next challenge. So here's an honorary full tank shot. Doesn't look like much with little 1-inch twigs everywhere, but now's the fun part, watching these corals grow in and seeing how I can achieve that. So everyone, thanks again for tuning in, coming with me on this journey. Please be sure to like and subscribe. It really motivates me and helps me stay committed to making these videos and documenting this journey. I really do appreciate the support. Take care all and happy reefing. We'll see you all in the next one.